Imagine this. You're working on a research paper and you find information that will support your argument perfectly. You decide to incorporate it into your assignment to write a killer paper. Unfortunately, your paper is considered as plagiarized and it does not get accepted. Plagiarism is the use of someone else's intellectual property without properly crediting them. Essentially, claim that idea as your own. This usually affects students who do a lot of academic writing, as it may lead to either failing grades during their academic life, and even so far as to suspension, and even could end up with expulsion. Plagiarism may also affect researchers and employees alike. It can cause them to lose credibility or even lose their jobs. Thankfully, you can avoid plagiarizing by just using the different standardized citation styles. In today's lesson, I'll be telling you or explaining to you the two different ones that are mainly used in academic life, which are MLA and APA. These citation styles will allow you to use another person's intellectual property without plagiarizing. MLA styles versus APA styles. Subjects that I'll be covering today are MLA and APA citation styles, format guidelines, so how your paper should be formatted at the start of writing, title page, so the first page of the research assignment, in-text citations, so a brief form of reference inside paragraphs, long in-text citation, so basically block quotations, and then bibliography. The bibliography will always be at the end and will always cite your sources. Let's start off with MLA. MLA stands for Modern Language Association. This style is typically used to cite sources in the subject of humanities, so disciplines such as language arts, literature, and cultural studies would use this citing style pretty often. This format style makes citing works like articles and other literature a lot easier, and I'm pretty sure a majority of students are already pretty familiar with this citing style since almost every English class uses this almost exclusively. While on the other hand, there's APA. APA stands for American Psychological Association. This style is typically used when citing sources in the subjects of social sciences, so disciplines such as psychology and sociology would fit in this subject. This citation style makes citing science papers and journals a lot simpler. And next up, we have format guidelines. Thankfully, MLA and APA use the same page format. All the papers that will be using these citation styles will always have their font size set to 12, will always have the text be double spaced, will always have 1-inch margins from all sides. The bibliography will always be at the end of the assignment. The page numbers will always be on the top right of the page, and the use of legible fonts. Legible fonts are typically just fonts that are easy to read, but most professors would highly suggest using Times New Roman. Next up, we're on title page. So for MLA style, it does not require you to have a standalone title page. However, you might be instructed to do so. But if you're not instructed to do so, then you will have to create a header on the first page. The header should include your full name, the name of your instructor, the course information, and the date of submission within that order, bottom to top. The title will also be a line above the first sentence. Next up, we'll be on title pages. So we'll be talking about the MLA style right now. The MLA style does not require you to create a standalone title page. However, you might be instructed to create a title page, but majority of the time you wouldn't be, so we'll just skip over that for now. You'll have to create a header on the first page. The header should include your full name, the name of the instructor, the course information, and the date of submission, all in that order, top to bottom. The title will also be centered and above the first sentence, as well as the page number will also include the writer's last name. We will now be talking about APA style for title pages. While you're working on your title page for APA style, you should have the title bolded and in title case. For people who don't know, title case means that all majority of words are capitalized. So basically anything that aren't prepositions, articles, and conjunctions are capitalized. Under the title would also be your full name, the institutional affiliation, the course information, the name of the instructor, and the due date. Almost forgot, everything in the title page should also be centered as well. And once you've completed all these steps, you can now begin writing your paper for APA style. If we direct our attention into the example for the APA title page, we'll see the title of this example being Effects of Pollution, an Arctic Environmental Study. we'll see the title also being bolded and centered. And then we see the author's name. In this case, it will be Colin K. And then under that, we'll see the institutional affiliation, which is the Department of Biology, de Mesne University. And then under that, we'll see course information, which in this case, it will be ENVR 121, Dynamic Earth. And then we'll see the name of the instructor, which in this case will be Dr. Catherine Hashimoto. And then the due date right under it, February 1st, 2020. All these being centered as well. We will now be looking into in-text citations between MLA and APA. So first of all, for MLA in-text citations only include the last name of the author and the page number. So if we look to the example to our right, we will see in quotation Wingardium Leviosa, and then we'll see in brackets, or in parentheses we'll see Rowling 224. So the author and then the page number. But if we look for APA in-text citations include the last name of the author, the date of publication of that media, and the page number. The only difference between the two is the date of publication, I'd say. So if we look to our right of APA, we'll see Wingardium Leviosa, the same quote as we did for MLA. We'll see instead in the parentheses, we'll see Rowling, comma, 1997, that's the year of publication, and then comma again, page 224. We will now be discussing long in-text citations. These will also be known as block quotations. So for long in-text citations, both MLA and APA follow the same format. All the block quotes would be freestanding blocks. They'll be indented by half an inch. There'll be no quotation marks at all, and the citation will come after the final punctuation. So if we look to our right, we will see the example in MLA form at the top and example of APA at the bottom. We will see the author, the page number, and possibly the date of publication after the final punctuation. The only main difference between the two is what constitutes a quote to be formed in a block quotation. What I mean by this is that for MLA, the quote would have to be more than 4 lines, or 4 or more lines, for it to count as a long in-text citation, while for APA, it will only be 40 words or longer. We will now be talking about the bibliographies for MLA style and APA style. So in MLA style, the bibliography will always be labeled as works cited on the top of the page. The source will always start off with the author's last name, followed by its first name, and then the middle name will be an initial, if applicable, of course. The title of the source will also be in quotation marks and will be in title case. That means that all significant words will be capitalized and small words like articles, prepositions will be not. The date of publication will come right after the citation, since English studies do not really matter on the sources being up to date. In APA style, the bibliography will be labeled as references. It will start the same way as MLA with the author's last name, but this style will have their first and middle name initials instead of full names. The date will be beside the author's name as well in parentheses, since relevant sources are necessary in the science field. Then the title will follow. The title will not be in quotation marks, and it will be in sentence case, meaning that only the first word of the title, the subtitle, and any proper pronouns will be capitalized. I also forgot to mention that both styles will have their respective list titles centered, and it will be in alphabetically descending order. So if we look at the example for APA, we will see Baker and then we'll see Smith. Since Baker is ahead of Smith, it will be on top of the list. That will conclude my today's lesson on the differences between the MLA citation style and the APA citation style. Thank you and have a great day.